Well, hello there. Good evening and welcome. This is Strong and Sassy, and this is Joy 99.7 FM. You're warmly, warmly welcome. It's so great to have you join us tonight. And for the past few weeks, we've been doing my story here on Strong and Sassy. So we've been telling you incredible stories of incredible women who have overcome the worst situations so that they can live really full and exciting lives. And even for some of our guests, their lives are still riddled with pain, but they're overcomers and they're managing, they're coping every day. They're getting along, and that's what my story is all about. It's about getting along, and it's about finding the good in everything that we go through. So that's what we've been doing for the past few weeks, and we'll be doing it until the end of this month. So if you've missed any of our stories, you can go onto Facebook and you'll find us there. We've been live streaming as well. And speaking of live streaming, you can join us on Facebook now. We're live. It'd be really nice to have you interactive with us. You can send your comments and your questions. So head on to Facebook if you're not driving. But if you're listening to us and you want to get interactive, our WhatsApp lines are open as well. It's 055 1111997, 055 1111997. Once again, a warm welcome to you. This is Strong and Sassy. My name is Animwaa Anim-Addo, and we'll be here until 8 o'clock. Okay, so tonight we're speaking to a very, very lovely lady. I am sure that you must have heard about her, especially on social media. She does a lot of work with young boys. So we're talking to Ethel Adjorlolo, and she'll be sharing her story with us today. So like I always do, I'm not going to spoil it for you by telling you what I know. We're just going to let her tell us her story herself. So good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Animwaa, and good evening to all the lovely listeners of Joy FM. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's so great to have you. And let me say good evening to your little sister, Marilyn. Very, 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 I'm sure she's listening.
Yes.
Marilyn, I'm looking for you. So you're in trouble. But it's nice to have the family, the family on the show. Okay, so Ethel, you're known as, let's get a little bit of background into who you are. So you're known as the boys' doctor. You're just telling me that it's a name that your kids gave you. So how did that come about?
Okay. So first of all, the name is Ethel Adjorlolo-Marfo. Adjorlolo is my maiden name, which I still keep proudly. And then Marfo is my marital name. Yeah, okay. Marital name, yes. So yes, I'm boys' doctor Ethel, proudly so. During the COVID, all my programs used to be in-person programs, and so during the COVID, I now had to think of how to get my boys trained, even with COVID. So we started thinking about what to do, and I started thinking of virtual learning for the boys. Okay. I had never tried it before, and I needed to engage parents, in a very interesting way to continue to bring their children to our programs. And so I thought of going on TikTok to kind of spread the message, make it more fun. Yes. So there was a program I was promoting called Phenomenal Abrantier Academy, and I was struggling to come up with a funky name on TikTok so I could get the awareness out there. So my children and my daughters, I have 3 daughters, we were brainstorming. We kind of had a list of names we're tossing, and then finally they are like, I've been doing this for a while, boys doctor, and I was like, okay, that sounds great. And myself, I thought I'd been doing it for a while, and it made sense that, well, let me fix the boys properly by being called a boys doctor.
Okay.
And so that's how it came about. Yes.
But it's interesting though, because you seem to have a passion for boys, but you have 3 girls.
Yes.
Okay, so it's definitely not born. It's not born from your experience with your children. So how did? Okay, I think we'll talk about that later. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
So let's start from when you were young. Do you want to just paint a picture of us of what your life was like growing up?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the first daughter of Reverend Jerry and Reverend Joyce Adjorlolo, and we grew up in the Christian family, Christian background, you know, and so we had this close-knit family. We were just a family of 5.
Okay.
Loving, close-knit family.
So 3 kids. And
3 kids, mom and dad. Yes. But along the line, my parents are missionaries, and so they had to leave to Gambia. First they left. They went to Nigeria to teach. We lived with our grandmother. They came back, and after a while, they went to Gambia to do missionary work. And so my brother and I, we found ourselves living with uncles and aunties because our parents were out there. But whenever they came back, we had quality time with them. Okay. So I'm someone, my love language is actually quality time. You know, okay. I value quality time. Okay. You know, so yes, so we grew up with our parents up to about, I think, 8 years old, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and then we were living with relatives, and then they came back, and then at secondary school level, I went to Ola Girls. I'm a proud PRO for the Poga Association. Hello to all of them. Yes. So
hello. How are you doing in the National Science and Maths quiz?
Well, this year, you know, it happens. I mean, this year, but we are coming back strong. Okay. So yes, hi to all the Poga ladies. Yes. So yes, I went to Ola, and during that time, my parents were not around. Okay. So my brother and I, we had to live with relatives, and I want to
talk about your brother and I, but there was another sister.
Yes, Marilyn is my sister.
So we're going to see your brother and I. Where was she?
She went with them because she was younger.
Okay.
Yes,
she was
went
the
with
baby.
Them. Yes,
so she went with them. Okay.
Yes. So we had to live with relatives. We lived with one great uncle called Mr. Samani. Thanks to him, he trained us like his children. So childhood, I didn't have our parents with us, but when they were with us, they gave us such quality upbringing that we're strong enough to survive the storms of life. We lived with people, we lived with aunties, you know, we lived with uncles, but we were just fine. We're just okay. And they didn't forget about us. They called us, you know, they were caring towards us. So we didn't really miss them that much. So my life was like that. I didn't get the opportunity to live with my parents throughout, but whenever we got to be with them, it was quality time, you know, family time. With the upbringing that I had with my parents, I got the opportunity to be a leader because I was the first child. They always put that leadership spirit in me. So wherever I was a natural leader. It was easy to be a prefect. In school, I was a prefect in Ola, you know. So I got that leadership skills from the family, the way my mother oriented me, the way my father kind of affirmed me. I got that from them, you know. And so that's how childhood was. We were living with relatives until tertiary. You know, so I'd been on my own, and that also came with its own challenges because anymore you are growing into your 20s and mom, dad is not here, you know, but you have to deal with temptations coming at you, you know, and those times, most of the time I'll call my mom or my dad to tell them what I'm going through, and they'll advise me over the phone, you know. So basically life has been like finding myself, you know, finding my feet by myself at a point. And I think it taught me a lot. Independence, it grew my leadership skills, and wherever I worked, I stood out. My work ethic stood out.
Okay.
Yes.
So so that sounds like quite an exciting, you know, childhood. Yeah. And then you went to uni, and then so what at that point, what had you decided that career wise you wanted to become? Right.
So when I was in Ola, we went to Akosombo Dam to have a field trip and excursion. And then we met this gentleman who took us around. I can't remember his name right now. And he was very eloquent and he had in-depth knowledge about how the dam was set up and everything. As he was talking, I was like, I want to be like this. I want to be the spokesperson of a company. I want to be the face of a company. So it grew my you know, PR interest. So actually I didn't even know it was PR. I just went to him, and that's how bold my parents, you know, trained me. After the excursion, I went to him, walked to him, and I asked him, where did you go to school? How can I be like you? And he said, okay, when you finish Ola, buy GIG forms, you start from there, you know. So I grew that interest because I was a prefect. Talking was, you know, natural. Yes. So yeah, I took his advice, and I got my parents to get me the forms for GIJ, and so that was where I took off.
Okay.
Today is a different story, but we'll come to that.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, it's interesting because
Yes.
you seem to have been going in that direction.
Exactly.
So you finished that, and then you started to build a career in that direction.
Exactly. I went further to do my national service at Guinness Ghana Breweries. It took off well. I was opportune to get the right environment to kick off my PR career. I worked with a very how do I put it, experienced PR lady or professional in the name of Madam Pamela Jamson Tete, who is currently the head of the Ghana airports. And so she trained me very well. I really loved working in that environment.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so it sounds good.
Yes.
So far, I mean, a good story, about life.
Yes.
You've had a good childhood. You were quite decisive on what you wanted to be. Which is not something a lot of people are.
Exactly.
You started to follow your dreams. But we know that there was a twist somewhere. So do you want to tell us about that?
Yes. So this is how it started. It all started when I got married. And when I got married...
Oh, wait. But first of all, you should tell us how you met your husband and how you knew he was the one.
Okay.
That's very important.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'll just summarize that. So... where I worked at Guinness Ghana as national service. Later on, continued to do some continuous service before I found another job at Charterhouse. And so I used to be in the department where we took care of expatriates, foreign staff coming in, and so we needed transportation services for them, and he was into that industry, transport. So we were just friends at the time. I mean, it was just a working relationship. I left Guinness long ago, and I bumped into him at Busy Internet. Those days it was called Busy Internet.
Just here.
Yeah. So we exchanged pleasantries. Hi, it's been a while, and he asked, where have you been? And I said, oh, I've moved on. I'm working here now, that. Oh, just to keep your number. I said, yes. And we started chatting, and then, long story short, it ended in marriage.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
yes,
So
yes.
you can continue the story.
So, we got married, and at the time that I got married, I had already kind of registered to attend school at Gimpa.
Okay.
And so it was in the process. I was just, I married in July, and in August I was starting school. So I told her, my husband, I was like, oh, you know something, I'm about to start school. So let's postpone childbirth for at least a year.
For a while.
A while, yes. So that when I'm able to find my level, we can start thinking about it. He was like, are you sure? He wasn't cool, but I convinced him, and yes. So Animwaa, after 1 year, I was ready to have children. But I mean, I don't know whether it was pressure. It was not just forthcoming, when I thought I was ready. And that's where my frustration started.
Okay.
Yes. And so I was, very disturbed. Why is it that when I'm ready, it's not, coming? It's not like it took a long time, but I was just, I didn't understand why it took so long.
How long did it take?
Oh, it took, I think, a year and a half, which someone would be laughing and giggling. But to me...
But to you, it's like, I'm ready.
I'm ready. Why is
How old were you at that time?
I was 28.
Okay.
Yes. So,
and were you timing it properly, or was it kind of
as in preparing for the childbirth?
Yes, were you timing it for the time of the month when you would be ovulating?
Yes.
Or,
yes.
So I just want to know.
I was deliberate about it. Yes,
you were very deliberate about it. Okay.
So I spoke to my doctor, and he told me it looks like I am nervous. I mean, there's so much pressure to have it, so I should just relax. So we got the opportunity to attend a wedding in America, a friend's wedding, and so. I think over there I had forgotten about work, and at that time I had gotten a new role at Aviation Social Center as their marketing manager, so the demands on the job was high. And so I think all those factors, so when I went out there I was a bit relaxed, and by the time we came back, within 2 months I was pregnant. Yes. So I kind of agreed with what the doctor said, that I was really under pressure, thinking about it and all that. So it was happy news. Baby came. We named her Keisha, which means great joy, because at last. And then Animwaa, when I had the baby, of course, first time mother, that experience. So I had a very painful episiotomy. It's when you have a baby and they cut down there to make room for the baby. Yeah. I think mine was the deepest cut ever. It was terrible. So I found it difficult to recover. So I was like, afraid of even going near my husband because I was scared.
Yeah.
So when I thought I had recovered, and I went close to my husband. Oh, after all, we are married. So anymore, bam, I got pregnant again just after, I think, 4 months.
Okay.
I hadn't gotten over
the
exactly
psychological,
of course, I was still nurturing a baby, and 4 months into the baby, I was pregnant again, and so my depression started. Now I had, as at my first baby, I had resigned from work because I was schooling, pregnant, and the school, Gimpa, you have to close, go to Gimpa, come back home. It's not like, some mothers are doing it very well, but we are all different, so the pressure was too much. My home was very far. So it got to a point I had to resign from work. But I'm that kind of person. I want to be busy. I always want to be productive, So being at home, after first baby, I was just thinking of how can I get back into shape to get back into corporate or get back myself into work. And then second baby comes. Okay, so I managed it. It was very, tiring and all that, but I managed it. Anyway, I get back to the second one. And around the second one, I was looking for consultancy jobs to do, and I was lucky to get the spelling bee. Eugenia Techimenson gave me an opportunity to work freelance for her. I thank her very much. And whilst working with her, she knew I had to already. A third one, boom. Whenever I had a little break anywhere, it just happened.
Yeah, you were very active, weren't you? Just pause for a second. So, first question is: so your first daughter is called Keisha,
yes.
Great Joy.
Yes.
What did you name your second?
Karis Grace. Yeah, because God gave me the grace to go through. Just immediately after the first one,
okay,
Grace.
So Karis.
Yes.
And the third one?
Kendra.
What does that mean?
Kendra is somebody who is very wise, prophetic, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So another question.
Yes.
Family planning. What was up with that?
Okay, so the third one. I had heard all stories about family planning. I actually found out that it could make you bloat. I had a friend who had taken on family planning. And
what kind?
It was a contraceptive.
Okay.
Yeah. So she told me it could make you bloat, and she's struggling to deal with it. She's got this hormonal imbalance, blah blah blah. So I went with the instant pill after
the morning after pill.
Anyway, it didn't work.
You forgot?
No, I took it.
You
it didn't work.
Took it. But then that's a lot of morning after. Okay, I'm not even.
I think maybe I didn't gauge well, but it didn't work. I took it twice, crumple, because I was so nervous, it didn't work.
Okay.
So after the third one, anyway, I'll be on catch me say, me call me loop, yeah. So
you went
exactly. So
okay.
Anyway, I took the measures, but it didn't work for me. Maybe I think my life has been more of God had a plan in all this, because if I see where I am now, I think God had a plan for me. Today they've all grown up and they're like my sisters.
Of course. How old are they now?
So I have 13 and I have 11 going on 12 and I have 10 going on 11.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yes.
But that would be interesting though.
It is.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have these three, and in between the having of the kids and the trying to get back to work, you were depressed.
Yes.
Okay, what was that like?
Okay, so now I had all three, and it was as if I had a crash. Because sometimes one will get sick before you realize the other one is sick, and you cannot be working with someone and always be given excuses, So when the third one came, I just resigned from my freelance with the spelling bee group, and then I thought of something I could do for myself. I found difficulty in doing their hair, my children's hair. So I opened a niche salon for girls, for my daughters to benefit from it, and for my neighborhood people who had girls to also come and do their hair at the salon. But I felt so unfulfilled during those days, because you see, here am I was very passionate about public relations, marketing. I'd gone to Gimpa to earn a degree in marketing to back up my PR, and I wasn't useful. It wasn't as if the children were not a blessing to me, but I personally wanted more for myself. So that's...
Let's stay there for a second,
Yes.
because I want you to kind of talk about that. A lot of, and I've heard this from a lot of women who have talked about, having children and almost that perception that once you have children, a certain number of children, let's say below the age of 5, then there's a certain sort of satisfaction and joy that you should get that makes you wanting to also have a job. It almost seems like you're betraying your womanhood by not being completely fulfilled in just having children. So I mean, I want you to tell us how that felt like, and what your thoughts are on just how women, can cope with having children. Because I remember when I had both of my kids under the age of 5 and I wasn't working, I was desperately unhappy, but also had that pressure of you have 2 beautiful children and you're at home looking after them. So why is that not enough?
So anymore, I like to always go into myself and find out what I contributed to a situation, So I would like to say that I personally, when I was growing up as a young woman, I didn't really kind of go into myself to find out what my purpose was. Like I told you, I saw this young man talking about Akosombo Dam, and I was, fascinated by it, and I was like, this is something I would love to do. But whether it was my purpose, I really didn't really find out. Okay, so I didn't find out my purpose. I didn't enjoy my singlehood that much. I was someone that I loved to give service. Wherever I worked, I was mostly either the best employee of the year. My life was just service. I never gave to myself.
Okay.
If you are a woman and you learn how to enjoy your singlehood very well, and there comes a time in your life where you have to just stay and look after kids, you will be fulfilled. You've enjoyed yourself, yourself. And when you also have found your purpose and your vision in life, you take things easy. That's where I have gotten to now.
Okay.
I'm not in competition with anybody. I flow at my pace, but it's because I have learnt, the hard way. But I think that if you're a woman, you should, as young as you are, you should identify your purpose. What makes you happy? What is it that you do that, you give impact and you're also impacted? If I knew that earlier, if I knew that I was cut for nurturing boys, impacting into the lives of future men, future husbands, future leaders, I think that even at that point, I know that this is what I'm going to be doing. So I'll take it easy, look after my children. But I think I was in a state of, I don't know what I'm going to do, that kind of thing. So it's about you knowing yourself, self-awareness, know your purpose. And at every point in time, if anything comes your way, you are relaxed because you know your purpose. You know how you will get there.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you can continue. So at that point, you're looking after the 3. You're feeling quite... How bad was the depression?
It was very bad. I wouldn't want to mix with people. They would invite me for weddings and stuff. I would not attend because of the 3 children in succession. I had put on weight in wrong places. I couldn't package myself very well. I had lost interest in dressing up well because you're taking care of children.
Oh, yeah.
When all students are having something, you see on the seats on the platform, you just scroll. I didn't want to be part of anything, and that's when I knew that I wasn't Ethel anymore because I was very bubbly,
very sociable,
So, and the fact that sometimes you're born in a Christian home, that your parents are, let's say, pastors, does not mean that you may have a personal relationship with God.
Okay.
So I realized I was going through the motions, being a Christian child and all that, but I think that I hadn't gotten to that place where I'd saturated myself in, knowing that God is there for me. Whatever I'm going through, it will come and pass. I was trying to solve it physically, so I clinged onto God during those times, but it wasn't easy. I was thinking of what I could do physically to get myself out of that situation. I spoke to people. Can you get me a job? Can you find me a freelance opportunity? And everybody turned me down at that time when I had all 3 kids. There was a friend, or an acquaintance, a former schoolmate. I told her about my situation, and so an opportunity came at her workplace. And so she told me, "Oh, Ethel, I've spoken about you. I've told my people about you. I'm actually leaving the company, and so I've told them about you. I would like you to come and have an interview with them. If they like you, that's it, So anyway, I turned up for this job opportunity, and I went there, and apparently she had told about 20 friends the same thing. So when I got there, I knew that, look, I'm just coming to try.
Wow.
It was so disappointing. I got back home and I was like, wow, how many more times am I going to be disappointed? Every time I knocked on a door, there was no hope. So I lived with this for 5 years. I was managing the salon, but my heart was not there.
So you were just unhappy.
I was just unhappy, and my husband did his best. He was very supportive. I wasn't in a corporate job, but I was driving a car that someone who has worked in a corporate job for 10 years was driving. He made sure that we were comfortable. But for who I want to be, and for the kind of lady that I had nurtured myself into, an independent woman, a leader, And so when I even walked to, let's say, banking halls, or I go to a place and I see a former student like, "Hi, Scoopy," I wanted to hide because I had lost so much confidence. I wasn't looking myself anymore, So that was how bad it was. So it was a moment of, you go to this church, you hear that they are, finding out people's, how do I say it? There are some churches, prophetic churches.
And the spiritual clinics.
Yes,
and you want to know
your future.
What's going on. And
Even though my parents encouraged me a lot, just, hold on, pray. God will make a way. This is not the end of the world. Just enjoy, like you said, enjoy being a mother. But it wasn't easy.
No, of course not.
Me caught from, I just romantic, going to this church to find out whether I'll know about my future, and so that I can relax. Because I was like, is this how it's going to be?
Did you find out about your future?
Never. I heard all sorts of tales, Fawebra. And whenever I go there and I see, because I was from a background where we went with a clean way, excuse me to put that way,
Fine, yeah.
Exactly. So when I hear, and if I wear bra better, I just ran, because I realized no, and that's how, when you raise up your child with certain foundations, and they even sway, because of the foundations that you've given them, they'll come back.
Yeah.
Yes. So anyway, it was very depressing during those moments, and at that time too, relationship wise, I couldn't relate well with people, I just had shut off.
You just shut
Exactly.
down. What's about your relationship with your husband?
Well, what it was he did everything to make me happy, but I was not really feeling myself, So he did his possible best. He was supportive. When I wanted to open the salon, he was like, "Oh, cool." So what I did was, I saved some money when I was doing freelance, and I told him I wanted to open a salon. I said I had this amount. He supported me to open it up. He was there for me, but personally, I was just not a happy person, and so it told on me, I wasn't looking attractive anymore. It was terrible. Yes.
Did you consider getting professional help?
No, at that time that didn't come to mind. I resorted to Famanyame, Bompaye, and with that, it's quite, a long process. So you have to wait on God, Yes. So along the line, after 5 years of that long process, I said, okay, it's been 5 years. My last daughter is in school. Let me try again to see if I'll get something doing to get my life back in shape. I thought that the only way I could be happy was going back to corporate life.
Back to work,
Yes. So I called on a few friends here and there, and it's good to build relationships whilst you are in corporate. Whilst you are working for somebody, I'll tell any lady or any young man out there, be diligent, build relationship, build good networks. You never know. So one or two of them could prove right. So I had the contacts of one of our clients when I was working at a place, and I called him and I said, look, I've been at home for a while now, my kids are older, I want to start work again. And he said, oh, come over, let's talk. So we spoke, and he said, no problem, I'm going to give you a 1-year contract for you to decide whether you want to really come back, because it's when you've been home for a long time, you think you are missing something. But when you are given the opportunity, it's another thing altogether. Yeah. So, thanks to Samuel Atamensa of CTFM. He gave me the opportunity to be their client service manager. Okay. And so I took it on for a year. It was a contract, a 1-year contract. And so I worked with them. Well, I enjoyed it. It was like a breath of fresh air.
I know that feeling.
So it got me back into shape to dress up again, to go to work, because I was always home. I didn't, I must thank one lady, Auntie Alberta, when I was going to work. Anyway, me corporate dress back up, because those that I had before having children, they didn't fit anymore. So I called Auntie Alberta. I'm like, Auntie Alberta, I need to, pimp my wardrobe, that kind of thing. What can you suggest? Can you suggest a place for me to go and shop and all that? And he said, come home. I have lots of clothes that doesn't fit me anymore, and they're still in shape, So I went to her house. Auntie Alberta gave me lots of clothes, and it was so exciting.
Thank you, Auntie Alberta.
It was so exciting. So I also got some for myself, and then Auntie Alberta's own, and it was a breath of fresh air. I could feel being a very lively mother again to my children, So
they benefited from going back to work.
Every woman or every mother needs that outlet. So it was exciting. At that time, I was given a role that gave me the opportunity to go out and meet their key corporate clients, and so they have to see that kind of leadership in you, and that they have to see something about you to give you that role. So I also had to fit in that role very well. So I did it for a year.
Did that automatically turn off the depression?
Let me say that maybe about 80%. Yes, was great. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So along the line, when it was getting to 1 year, I thought to myself, do I want to extend this? At the time, my salon, even though I didn't like it, there were many clients who really loved the service I was offering. It was a niche salon. At that time, there weren't many kids salons. It was just I and one other lady. So the client kept calling me, Ethel, you've left the salon and the girls are messing up. At least when I was there, because of my leadership skills, the workers comported themselves and treated the clients very well.
Okay.
But when I left, things just, the Ghanaian thing, it's unfortunate I have to say it.
It's fine, go ahead.
When the boss is not around and, So the job started going down, the complaints were coming whilst I'm at work. Mothers will be calling me, today this staff of yours did that. Not all of them were like that, but a few nuts, bad nuts.
Yes. Completely.
So I just said to myself, okay, it's been 1 year, it's been great service. Okay, so I always like to think about the future, think ahead. So it's been 1 year at CT. What am I going to do next? And so I started thinking, if I'm going to the salon, what am I going to add to the salon to make it more appealing and more fun for me? Because I didn't enjoy it. That's why I went out.
Okay.
And so I was there, and I had a plan. When I was visiting corporate organizations, I realized that some of them, their front office people, let's say receptionists, front office executives, some were very professional, some were something else. So I wanted to have an award scheme. Maybe someone could steal this idea. I give it to you. I wanted to have an award scheme to honor front desk executives, in across organizations. That was what I thought of, and I even bounced it off one of my colleagues back then. And so that was what I wanted to do. Now I went back to the salon. I started putting plans together to have sponsors come and help me to do this event, because I had now been exposed to the corporate world, and I had made good contacts with the corporate world.
So at this point, you had decided that you won't renew your contract.
I won't renew. I'll rather go back to the salon and add value to the salon.
Okay.
Yes. So I went to the salon and I started planning how I was going to do my event. Then, the kids started coming, and I now was meeting the clients or the children all over again, and then it just struck me one day how when the girls come to the salon, anyway, they are well put together, they're reading a book, and the boys come there and they are rowdy, they are all over the place,
So
yes, even though yes, boys have that energy, it's natural, but I just thought, why is it that it's so difficult for the gentlemen or the little boys to find interest in developing themselves as the girls are doing? So it dawned on me, and I asked the parent, is this how boys are? I don't have boys, but I just want to know, is this how they will just run around till yeah? And she said, yes, most of them are like that. I mean, they're just like that. When they grow, they will get out of it. And I said, really? Oh, well, maybe I'd like to change the status quo. I just said it that way. And so I'd been thinking about it. And I discussed with my husband, and I told him I wanted to do this. And initially, he was not sure what I really wanted to do, but I kept having, like you sleep and you see a lot of boys going through stress, mayhem, and boys are causing atrocities. And at that time, there was this Sakawa movement in Kaswa, and all these Ashaman and these places reported in the news. So I never slept about it, And when I was also in the corporate world, I encountered relationships.
Okay.
I mean, I encountered men who were, let me say, emotionally immature.
Okay.
And I found myself mothering a lot, like, teaching them
how
to be a man.
Yeah.
Like, you have maybe a disagreement with them and they shut off and they are like, they don't want to talk about it. They just want to move on, and I'm like, excuse me, let's iron this, and there were guys too who just were not organized. And, working with them was so painful. They were just, they want the easy way out. And so when they see a woman who wants things done well, you are like a pain in the neck. Yes. And so I thought about it and I said, all these issues starts from the foundation anymore. So I decided that I was going to groom boys as part of the salon. And then I registered a company and started the program at Christ the King School.
Okay.
Yes. And it also came with its own challenges. I brought men on board to come and help me. Some were good. I mean, some too were like, excuse me, I mean, if there's nothing in here for me, I'm going. I opened this as an NGO, so there will be times that we have a session on a particular day, it's advertised, and these men, some wouldn't come, and it was very, I was like, is this something that I really want to do, and at the time, I got friends also ridiculing me, yes, it was like, I want to mean is it because you cannot have boy children? That's why you're doing this? And I said, no, it's a burden on my heart to help boys because I encountered them in the salon and I've encountered young men who need help. Yes. There were men who told me about their marital issues. There were men who told me about their relationship issues and I advised them. And I realized that it all started from foundation, So, some of these men will not turn up and parents will bring their children and where's uncle this? Where's uncle that? He didn't come, And so it was, a very, difficult journey, making sense of what I was doing. Initially, people didn't understand me. Some feminists came at me, it's like, now, purchasing. We are fighting for the girls. And also we are boys empowerment.
Yeah.
But, when God has given you a calling, just be consistent and always ask God for grace to continue, and ask God for wisdom. So they made all sorts of comments at me. When I make a post, some will come and make all sorts of funny comments that looks like you are missing the point. We are talking about empowering girls and you are talking about empowering boys.
Okay.
What is it about? And so in due time, I think that people have gotten to understand what I am driving at. I'm looking at a future where we have phenomenal fathers who are nurturing game changers, children who will make a difference in the lives of wives, other women, children. You know, I want to help boys to understand what emotional intelligence is, because it's a skill that we've played down on when it comes to raising our young
boys,
men and our boys. Yes. And so I get men, psychologists, you know, therapists to come and train these boys on how to work their emotions out, you know. Yeah. So it was full of ridicule, you know, and some people will call me, Ethel, like we are talking, hey, well, boys idea, and it is a question. It's a now, but yeah, is that the only work?
Oh, boys
yes. You know, it was very sarcastic, you know. Yeah, so until I started winning awards and people started recognizing me, like I'm here today, and I don't take it for granted being on Joy, you know. And so that's how it was, ridicule, you know. And I had friends who could bring their children probably for my programs, but just say like you know, what do you think you're doing? Yes, but I want to thank all those friends who also believed in me and brought their children, Latifa, Matamaklo, Free, all those friends. I can't mention all of them, but I'm grateful to them, and I'm happy that their sons also were impacted by the program, you know. So anyway, it's been a difficult journey. Even on this journey of this boys activism, you knock on people's doors and they are like, oh, the agenda is for girls, so wait, you know, we don't have a budget for you, like, you know. So it's been difficult making sense out of what I am doing, but with time I'm getting recognized. And so right now it has wiped all my tears, because I started and I didn't even know that I was going to get into this area where I'm now an advocate for the boy child. I am a social entrepreneur and an educator. And, you know, along the line, I had to just think about my life. When I got to 40, I had to think about my life and said to myself, look, the PR dream is over.
Wow.
You know, as at 20, before the COVID, I was calling on friends. Even though I was doing this boys activism, I was calling on friends to get me a PR gig. And there were even people that I finished school longer than them. I mean, they are kind of juniors in the industry, but here was I begging them, and then they'll tell me, oh, well, I'll think about it. Well, there's nothing yet. I'll call you back. You know, talking to you, like, you know, you are a desperate soul. And so I had to put up with all that.
How many boys have passed through your hands, would you say, since you started?
Some not physically, virtually, over 7,000 boys.
Wow.
Yes.
That's 7,000 lives changed.
Yes.
That's amazing.
We do online, so we have boys who are African boys who are in London, US, Tanzania, Uganda, Liberia. I went to Liberia physically to have a boys session. Yes, so over 7,000 boys have been impacted through our programs. Yes.
You know, I think it was Michelle Obama who, well, funnily enough, she has two girls as well. but she said something which shocked me. She said that if we raised our boys with as much intentionality as we raised our girls, perhaps things would be very different. And you find that in the African society or in the Ghanaian society, the way that we raise our boys is very different from the ways that we raise our girls. And I didn't understand until I had kids myself. So one boy, one girl. And I noticed that I treated them differently. I was raising them differently. And even more recently, when my 13-year-old daughter came to complain, I was like, I think my dad is a misogynist, because why is he not letting my brother cook, and why am I, you know, and then you realize that, we are training our boys differently. I want you to kind of give us an idea of what it means for the future when we're not as intentional about training our boys into the kind of men that we wish we had today, the kind of men that we wish our daughters would marry, the kind of men that we wish our grandchildren will have for fathers. We must be intentional.
Very much so. We must be intentional. And you see, The girls that we are tirelessly empowering today, if we don't groom boys who will complement them there'll be trouble. Exactly. So typically in a home, a mother and a father should be very intentional about, avoiding stereotyping. Like you said, the girls should not be limited to the kitchen. The boys also should not be limited to doing, let's say, macho stuff. Have a roster. Let me just make this practical for you parents. Have a roster in the house. Let the boy help you in the kitchen this Saturday. Next Saturday, let the girl do it. Let them all have an experience of what it is to be in the kitchen, what it takes to, wash a car. Give them that versatile experience so that they can be, total men and women who can survive any conditions. A few years to come, we will not have the pleasure of, even you. Now it's so difficult to find a nanny, even to look after your children.
Yeah.
You need to have, you and your husband, when you marry, you need to have that agreement that you are going to be picking up the kids in the afternoon and one is going to be doing evening. So we have to train the boys to be all-rounders,
so that they can support.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what our program seeks to do, just to train boys to be phenomenal. They should be better than their fathers, and if you're a mother also and you're raising boys, or raising girls, just raise boys in such a way that the next girl will meet a better husband than you have now.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's what I'm trying to do as a mother. So it's something that gives me so much joy when I see my boys talking with so much in depth when it comes to knowing their values, knowing their goals. Because you ask a young man his vision, his value, his goals, some of them are lost. But when you ask a JSA child, he's able to tell you something about his vision, his values, his goals. Yes.
Yeah. And what wow. Let me take a few of our messages because I think we just have about 7 minutes. Denise says, great show and convo. I like the boys activism parts. Please, how can we contact her for help? I'll let Ethel do that just at the end of the show so that you can reach out to her. Your guest is making a lot of sense. If we are to have good boys in our society, we will have better men and better fathers for the future. I applaud her. No dream is stupid in the heart of the dreamer. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
thank you for that. Okay, that's something. Wow, the things people ask on our WhatsApp pages. That was for Lexus.
Okay.
So, just before you go, I think that mainly your story is, it's almost like the painful path to purpose.
Thank you. I think that's the right title.
Yeah, and a lot of people kind of go through those years when nothing makes sense.
Yes.
But when you get through it and you get to the other side, you can look back and understand that you had to go through that to be the person that you have become. So just from everything that you've been through, and to somebody who's listening to us who, and this thing, this purposelessness thing, it comes and it goes. So it hits you in different seasons of your life, even when you're like, exactly what you want to do and, all of that. And sometimes it comes when you're young and sometimes it comes when you're old. But for somebody who is listening to us, who is in that season, of raising the children and, not being able to maybe balance that with work, or even balancing it with work and just constantly feeling like they're failing and they're not doing enough. I just want you to talk to them and, I don't know, help them to make sense of what they're going through.
Sure. So I would say that, hey, it's not easy. It's easier said than done. But find what's really good about you. Find that thing that makes you happy. That's one thing I didn't invest in. I really didn't invest in self-time. And so make sure that you invest in self-time, even if it's 5 minutes in the bath shower. Talk to yourself, affirm yourself. Know that you're still relevant, you matter, and self-love is the best gift you can give to yourself. When you start loving yourself, doors open, because you are radiating love, and so it's easier for you to attract help to yourself, and if you are in a tight situation right now, it looks like you're with the kids, you can't work and anything. You know what? my time, I think the YouTube thing didn't catch on that much. Facebook was not really there. Maybe it was just happening. But there is so much you can learn online on YouTube.
Yeah.
Learn a skill, add value to yourself, so that by the time the kids grow, you have something that you can leverage on. You have something that you make value, you add value to others, so learn a skill whilst you are in that waiting period. Add value to yourself, and it will pay off. I continue to add value to myself.
Yeah.
I'm still in school. I went to study about education. From PR, I just took off to education. I went to do a master's program in education. Now I'm in early childhood education training. I'm learning about how to handle the very little boys, so add value to yourself, no matter where you find yourself now, and it will pay off. Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. And I mean, what you're saying is so true. And the reason I say that is that I've learned through the past and even now that when life gets a bit quiet, or when things are not moving as quickly as you think they should, I've learned to recognize that as a season of preparation for the next. And the last thing you want to do is to not use that season well.
Yes.
And then you get into a place where you realize, I had 3 years and I wasted it. So if you're listening to us and you're in that season, then you should know that it's not a season that's just passing you by. It's a season for you to get ready for the next one. So that's what we leave you with tonight. I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. This is the first edition of my story that I haven't cried. So thank you for that. I'm sure some of our listeners will be glad that there were no tears tonight. But thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thank you.
So inspirational.
Yeah, I want to also use this opportunity to thank my husband for his great support,
and
my daughters, Akwesi Malfo. Thank you, and I love you.
Thank you.
I love my daughters, Keisha, Caris, and Kendra. Thank you.
Yes. They probably brought along the greatest lessons, as always, our children. Huh? Anyway, so that's Strong and Sassy for today. And remember that sometimes pain is the path to your purpose. And that's it for us. We'll be back next week at 7 o'clock. A big thank you to our producer, Victor Brachi, to Abeku, to Mirabel, to everybody who makes the show amazing, and to you for choosing us every Wednesday. And thank you especially to all the ladies who shared their stories so far. Next week, we'll bring you another story. Stay safe until then.